From the Standing Stone Farm Studio right outside downtown Nashville, it's time for the most ridiculous sports podcast in the world. So sit back, relax, and listen as Bobby Butler and Brandon Bond crack open a cold one and talk all things hockey, pop culture, and complain about everyday situations. It's the Pucks Out Podcast on the Penalty Box Radio Network.
Welcome into another episode of the Pucks Out Podcast. I'm Bobby Butler. He's Brandon Bond.
Heyo.
You can find us on the three majors of social media at Pucks Out Pod. Now let's crack open a cold beer and let's get after it.
Let's do it. What do we got today, Bob?
Oh, we got a Gerst Amber Ale from Yazoo.
Some delicious Gerst. I'm excited.
Solid.
Yeah, some Yazoo beer, always good on the old taste buds.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Don't forget, guys, check out our What a Maneuver store to get all the apparel you need. You can find that link on all of our social media pages. And don't forget to hit us up on YouTube and subscribe. We are still doing the 100 subscriptions promo. If you're one of the first 100 subscriptions, you will be entered into all future swag bag contests.
I hope I win.
You have access to all of the swag.
Yeah, but it's always better when you win something, Bobby. Obviously. Still no overalls on the shop.
Tell you what, next time I come over, I'll bring a t-shirt gun and just start shooting you with t-shirt gun
That'd be
and t-shirts.
dope. Look, bro, but if you can get an overall gun and get me some Pucks Out podcast, you know how I've been wanting it. Maybe like a coverall type of deal.
I was just thinking,
you
get some coverall, man.
Dude? Just like we're regular type of guys that work on cars and
maybe
stuff.
we can get a deal with Duluth and get some Duluth coveralls.
That'd be dope. But we got to get some fake oil stains on it so it makes it look like we utilize. So what's going on, man? How's your week been?
Busy, man. Work is super busy right now. You know, it's a home cheese making kit company. So everyone's wanting to do it at home, man.
Standing Stone Farms.
Yeah.
It's literally what our studio is named after, bro. So that's all. I mean, it's such a great activity and thing to be able to do it at the house right now.
Yeah.
So provide you a little utility with getting, having some cheese, but then also gives you something to do.
Yeah, it keeps the kids entertained. But how about you, bud?
Me, been doing pretty well. Nothing super mega going on. Got a new laptop, so we can start doing some more stuff with the pod. Just working, man. Not a whole bunch that I've been getting into.
But how about we get into some news, man?
Yeah,
not much to get into, but there have been rumors of the NHL starting back up in June, and that was confirmed when Gary Bettman said to some website. Didn't do enough research on that. But yeah, Gary Bettman talked about how the NHL might be restarting back in June. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm intrigued as a fan of sports. I am nervous for what this may potentially do later on down the road. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah, I think that it is a irresponsible decision, and I'm ashamed that the owners aren't stepping in and saying, no, we can't be doing this. It's time to scratch the season. It's time to award.
Started.
We need to award the President's Cup, award individual awards, and just call it a season. Get ready for training camp and hope that we are good to go by training camp. Because here's the thing. The regular seasonal flu tears up and devastates locker rooms. We've seen it every year. Every single year in every sport, the flu gets a team, and it can just spread. Everyone can see how fast it spreads in a locker room. Right. This is much more deadlier. This is much more contagious than that flu. So what's it going to do? I mean, they already say no more than groups of 10. Just the team itself, you're looking at a couple dozen players.
3-on-3s. We're going to do that. You're going to do that hockey movie thing where the guys are going into the locker room. I forget what is that movie called?
Mystery Alaska?
Something like that. No, I agree with you. I think it could be potentially irresponsible, but not only for just this season. If no other seasons were in the balance and these guys all sign up and they want to play hockey, I mean, who are we to say? As long as obviously I wouldn't say fans should be allowed back in.
Well, from what I saw, one of the things they're looking at is letting in some fans, which is a whole different thing. What fans do you decide to let in? Is it random? Do you say, hey, whoever pays the most money gets in?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine if you're asking me, yeah, I would say we only have 100 tickets. We're just going to charge 100 times what it would normally cost.
Well, what about season tickets? Like, what about my seats? I mean, because I have premium seats. Are they letting me in?
Look, man,
you need to answer these questions.
I get where you're coming from, Bobby, but you're coming at me with these questions, and look, man, I don't know what they're going to do with your seats, bro. It sounds like there's got to be some sort of customer service line for you to contact that you can direct these questions, and they may not be able to answer them, but they're most certainly getting paid to answer them. But something else that happened this weekend, congratulations to Austin Bowman for winning the first iDega.
Sure.
iRacing Dega, man. So yeah, the Talladega was with this weekend on the iRacing. Dude, it was actually pretty cool.
Was it?
Old Jeff Gordon got into a car, and raced. And I mean, I guess the reason that you retire from racing is kind of gone when you're just doing it online. But my boy Clint Boyer, not specifically my boy, but he was in the last lap on the final stretch, and his car kind of spun a little bit, and nobody kind of knew. Well, we find out after the race is over that his daughter turned off the TV, so that would be.
I'm honestly really surprised they didn't nix that after what happened with Kyle Larson.
What? Oh,
dropped an N-word?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that only very few people that were going to say anything saw it, because I mean, NASCAR has some normal fans and stuff, but it has a good subset of people that probably not only care that he said it, but probably applauded him for it, for such. So I mean, that would be like the extent of the same thing of, oh, we can't play hockey anymore because some guy dropped a.
Well, I figured they would at least put hopefully they put a delay on it or something.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Because I watched it. I heard about it. And I was like, that is crazy.
But to be fair, Bobby, they're really capturing the essence of the internet. And you know what I'm saying?
Did you see the video of him doing it?
No,
it was wild.
I didn't watch it.
So pretty much, he says it, and it's quiet. It is quiet, and someone goes, "Hey, bud." We can all hear you, and you just hear the silence of which is now his career.
Yeah. Well,
you just hear someone go, "Yikes!"
It's NASCAR. It's so purely individual that, I mean, it's not like he has to work with other teammates. At this point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there may be some fines and stuff, but I would imagine career-wise, driving the car is not going to be much different for him.
Yeah, for Uber. He'll be on Uber now.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. It's funny. I think we're looking to move into our Part 3 of the GM grades. We're still out west. Technically out west, but
before we do that, I do want to give a quick shout out, extend our thoughts to all of our brothers and sisters up in Nova Scotia after the tragedy there. We're with you guys. So yeah, let's. I'm going to start off with Winnipeg. As we said in the first part, we judge contracts based on above or below $7 million. We believe that if you make $7 million or more, then you should be playing as an elite player. And Winnipeg has two of those. Blake Wheeler at 8.25 and Kyle Connor at 7.1. So, and those guys, they're playing well. Winnipeg is a top-heavy team, and those two guys are playing well. They have $3.7 million in salary cap available, which is a decent amount.
Yeah, definitely.
They obviously need to make some moves because we're going to talk about later the good and the bad. They're top heavy, and right now they need to get a better defense in there because right now they're relying all on Connor Hellebuck, and that's going to wear out. So we saw here in Nashville what happens when you rely solely on a goaltender.
Well, and he's so streaky as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's he played lights out this past year, obviously, and that happens. That can happen for them.
But yeah, their draft capital, they've got one in every round except for 3, 4, and 7, so not great draft capital. So they're going to have to go into their AHL team and see what they can find there. But some of the good, they've got Eller signed through 24-25 on a cheap contract.
Yeah.
He's been performing well. But as we said on the bad, top-heavy lineup, they overly rely on Hellebuck and no defense. I think for team grade, we decided on a B-, and on a GM grade, C+.
Yeah, and some decent contracts for guys like Mark Scheifele and Patrick Laine.
What is Laine's?
Laine is currently making $6.75 per year, but his contract is up in 2021. So coming in, playing in a contract year is always can provide a little motivation for one of the league's best goal scorers. Just hasn't seemed to find his consistent ability to score goal. I mean, he can go on a tear. It's one of the downfalls of owning him in fantasy is that sometimes you don't need 19 goals in 1 week. You need 19 goals over 4 weeks, and and so for them to get to take another look at him. I mean, I don't see how you let him go. He's a generational talent. The guy is 21 years old. So, I mean, it's not like he doesn't have plenty of room to grow. But, yeah, Mark Scheifele getting a pretty good deal, 6.12 a year, and then 2024 is when his contract is up. So, I always like Scheifele. He's a great hockey player, so good deal for him.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about them over there in Mile House City?
Oh yeah, Avalanche let me down, to be fair, in the mascot draft. So no, a lot of good going on in Colorado. Really glad that this specific one fell to me. Players over 7 million. Can you guess for me how many? You're looking at the doc, aren't you?
So how it's many? Below me, but I'm gonna guess 3.
They have one guy making over $7 million a year. It's Mikko Rantanen making $9.25 a year. Even Nathan McKinnon sitting at $6.3 a year, and they got a good few years left. 2025 till Rantanen's expires, and 2023 until McKinnon's expires. You got Landeskog's salary coming up in 2021. He's only making $5.5 million, so you got to assume that he'll probably go up into that upper echelon. But I mean, McKinnon at 6.3 a year, what a freaking steal! Because I mean, you could argue that man should be making $12 million a year.
Oh,
Salary cap available a whole lot actually, $5.5 million. So good amount of salary cap to bring in some players or some pieces to fill out that roster. Not the best draft capital, but certainly not the worst draft capital. Pick in the first round, and then a single pick in rounds 3 through 7. The good, well, obviously, when healthy, one of the best lines in hockey. Argue with me if you want, but McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen, when they're on, they are playing tremendous hockey. So one of the best lines in the game. They're getting deeper. They're making great GM moves. Superstar players as well. That's something that a lot of great teams, even good teams, lack a superstar, and they got multiple superstars there. Goaltenders played a lot better than was expected of them in the beginning of the year. I would say we were struggling to come up with some bad, but they were very injured. They were very injured,
which really isn't on them.
Sure, no, absolutely not. But I mean, we had to find some bad in what was going on in Colorado. But they're so young, but they were getting some injuries, but they were still able to sustain runs through injured players and guys being out. Team, I think we went with an A, and GM we went with an A. I mean, it's hard. There was not a lot to complain about, from the Avalanche. Going to be a scary team in the Central Division for years to come, in my opinion. I think your turn to move over to the old Blackhawks.
So let's talk about those assholes in Chicago for a little bit. So players over $7 million, obviously Kane and Tays, they're making $10.5 million per year. I see there you wrote three years left. Is that they each have 3?
They both have 3 years left, so that's big money.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see what happens if they go somewhere else.
Yeah,
you have to think that Tays is going to probably get close to retirement after that contract.
Yeah, I mean,
he might sign a 1 year after that.
I mean, it's usually you have guys that will want to maybe stick around and win a cup, but I guess when you got 3, you're not as hurting for that. So,
but their salary cap not great. $175K.
No, not for what they're producing on ice and the product they're bringing forth. Agreed.
So that's enough to maybe give someone a signing bonus. That's about it.
Yeah.
Not even that. Draft capital, though, good. They've got one pick in every round except for the 7th round where they don't have a pick, and in the 3rd round they have 2 picks. So they're going to have some youth coming in, hopefully, if they play their cards right. Hopefully in their AHL system they got some good guys. The good for that team, Patrick Kane is always on fire.
Always good. I mean, he
is a difference maker no matter how the team looks. I mean, Patrick Kane is Patrick Kane. The bad, obviously no cap space, and they just can't keep the puck out of the net.
Yeah.
Their defense is almost non-existent.
Yeah.
And they got rid of Robin Leonard now, so.
And Duncan Keith is older. I mean, he's not producing at the levels that Duncan Keith has produced
Crawford
before.
Is just no good anymore.
And I mean, even when he is good, we talk about injuries not necessarily being players' fault, and obviously they're his or not his fault either. But when your injury history is constant concussions, that's a problem. Not only just for your team and you being able to be on the ice, but just for you personally, long term. It's scary, you know. I mean, Corey Crawford, since we played them in the playoffs, I feel has missed well over 80 some odd games with concussion issues, and it's just he'll come back for a week and then he gets another concussion. That's obviously no concussion is healthy, but most certainly getting them one after the other. And each time it's taking him longer and longer to get in, to get back onto the team, because such is the nature of concussions that they continue to compound themselves. I mean, I hope for his health's sake that he decides he can move on to maybe a coaching role or in an executive style of role, because I mean this is just not something you want to see. You don't want to turn on the TV and hear in 10 years that 45-year-old Corey Crawford has taken his life. Like a lot of these guys have done that get prolonged CTE and concussion issues. So, yeah, no, I agree. But I think you got some team grades for us.
Yeah, D's across the board. And one thing I do want to talk about before we move on is Malcolm Subban. You know, it was with them now. How do you think his future is going to go? Do you think that he might take over Crawford's spot?
Well, I mean, I think that based on our conversation, he's going to have to at least a little bit. I mean, Malcolm Subban is not a bad hockey player. He's just not a great one.
Yeah.
He's still young. He still has plenty of opportunity. The United Center is a fun place to play, and good or bad, Blackhawks fans are usually pretty rampant about Blackhawk hockey, so that always bodes well. I mean, Robin Leonard wanted to stick around, and I mean, no immediate rebuild in the future type of deal. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Malcolm Subban could provide some good opportunities there with some leash that you get, the leash that you get with Patrick Kane playing hockey on your side.
And you know, Nashville fans will love playing against a Subban.
Oh yeah. Obviously. Malcolm, we don't always get to see him even when he does come to town due to the fact that he's a goalie. So maybe we'll get to see him a little bit more in that old gross red.
So why don't you tell us about a team in one of our favorite cities?
Oh, old Minneapolis Wild. I was like, is there a hockey team in New Orleans? No, players over $7 million. I got Jared Spurgeon over $7 million for another 7 years. Not horrible, but I don't think over $7 million worth of hockey play. Ryan Suter for another 5 years. I mean, it seems ageless. He's not as big of an offensive, potentially big weapon like he used to be. But I mean, defensively, it's hard to argue with what that man does on the backside. Zach Parise still has 5 years left on his contract, and it's a big contract, and so he makes little stretches. I mean, he's still a. I don't think I've ever classed Parise as a superstar, but maybe that middling tier right there before superstardom.
Yeah.
He was a great player, great hockey player. He'll show it in spurts, but it's just not a consistent, I can pay $8 million a year for this. You know? I mean, it's just really hard. And for another 5 years, that's a big contract that you got to, I mean, they were obviously trying to move him this year and unable to get that done. And I mean, it was just it seemed like it was like apathy on the GM's part. But salary cap, not great, but not bad. 2.97 mil. Draft capital's okay. They were sellers, and then we're on a potential pace to make the playoffs, and 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, no third rounds, and then 1 and 4 through 7. What was good? Surging right at the end of the year. I mean, Kevin Fiala was on.
Yeah.
He had 53 points. I mean, I don't know that if you took the last 3 years that Kevin Fiala played with us, we could have totaled him at 53 points, or at least it didn't feel that way with the way he was playing. But he was playing good hockey, man.
He was looking like an elite player.
He was looking like
every single one of his goals were just pretty.
He was looking like the prospect that we thought we had.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously you never know with prospects. They're young, they're still developing, they're still coming into their own as hockey players. And that's always a risk you run by trading. Now, it's not that I dislike Granlund. I mean, obviously that was a good move at the time for us. But man, I sure would love to have old 22 crying on our side instead of crying on the other side. Obviously, I just said sellers were still on pace for the playoffs. Bad is going to be obviously what we talked about earlier. Long contracts. It's hard to get out from under when you can't bring in the pieces you need to win a championship when you're paying the pieces that maybe not those specific pieces. So I think we went team of B because they were surging after the firing, and they were sellers and they were still surging. We had originally had I think C+ on their grade, and I just switched that to a C. I don't know how you feel about it, but not getting
I'm good with that.
Not getting that move done for Zach Parise. I mean, that's a failure.
Yeah.
If there was at least some potential interest, even if we're going to pay for half of his contract the rest of the season.
You've got to unload that contract.
Yeah, and I mean now it's going to be at the trade deadline is when you got guys by the short ones. You know, I mean that's when I need a left winger to fill out this specific line, or I have this idea. Beginning of the season, everybody's a Stanley Cup champion. You know, everybody feels like they have a real shot to win, or at least most of the teams do.
Maybe not Detroit.
I don't know. Dylan Larkin is a hell of a hockey player. He may believe he can take them. So we got the GM at a C. Yeah, so that will complete our part 1 of the GM grades for the Central Division, and we'll go into part 2 next week.
All right, so now before we move on, the other day we did our first live stream for round 1 of the NFL draft. You can find that on our Facebook page or on YouTube. I suggest YouTube and hit subscribe and hit that bell. But we're going to talk a little bit about the winners and losers of the full 7-round drafts. I liked the draft. Me
too.
You know, I think that they built up this hype that there was going to be a lot of issues with the internet. Yeah. I think they kind of knew what they were doing.
It's 2020, dude.
Yeah.
We had a few issues for our Zoom live stream about the first round. But again, we are 2 regular guys that are just on our laptops. We didn't have IT professionals come and set up and route everything. And, and so obviously, as we talked about, there were some doper draft spots than others.
Yeah.
Freaking Bruce Arians, dude. He just looks like he's straight up at a retirement community, just on the back credenza. He's watching golfers golf in front of him, dude. Bill Belichick had like 2 20-inch TVs or something.
My wife saw him and she was like, oh, he looks like he lives a modest. Like, I'm like, well, he's at his second vacation house in Nantucket.
Yeah.
So maybe not super modest.
Yeah. So some initial viewpoints. I mean, I didn't suspect to be a lot of issues, especially when I can just pick up the phone. I'm the GM. I'm having problems. I can pick up the phone and call the head coach, and they can make the pick. They had policies where 3 or 4 different guys could be designated to call in to make the pick. Obviously, it's great to plan for potential issues that may be had.
Yeah. So let's talk some winners. Dolphins, to me, were the big winners in this draft.
Yeah.
But with 11 picks, it's hard not to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they messed up on one, I think. They're with the Austin Jackson pick.
You don't like him as much. I mean, I think that for where they got him, I mean, I agree. They probably could have gone and got Isaiah Wilson that the Titans got and would have been a better pick. But, I mean, Austin Jackson he could be Isaiah Wilson given the right opportunity. But I agree, it was probably a little early, and there was some better tackles on the board.
Honestly, I think they should have gone Ezra Cleveland. I think Ezra Cleveland went way too late in the draft.
Yeah.
I think he is a great player that should have been taken.
The Vikings are big winners.
Justin Jefferson was a great pick.
Big winners to replace that Stephon Diggs role, getting Justin Jefferson in the first. Had 15 picks, 6 offensive, 9 defensive. They filled a lot of roles. I liked their draft a lot for what they're able to, for what they want to do, and for what they're able to do. I really enjoyed the Vikings draft. The Colts draft. What a great steal for. I mean, obviously they have a running back, but in this league you can't have enough talented running backs.
Yeah. Jonathan
Taylor at pick 41, Michael Pittman a few picks before that. I mean, they've got some weapons to add in, and that was a problem they had, depth at wide receiver. Can Paris Campbell come in his second year and be a burner and provide some good options for the team? Absolutely. Did they need a big X or Z or Y style receiver to line up on the other side of T.Y. Hilton? Absolutely. And I feel like Michael Pittman from USC is big bodied enough to be a really good pick for them there.
Yeah, I think that the Colts, for the offensive side of the ball, increased their value the most.
Yeah, and then I mean obviously bringing Phillip Rivers in, and then being able to get Jacob Eason in the 5th round. I believe it was the 5th round. Let me verify myself.
I think that not this season, but the 21-22 season, the Colts are going to win the AFC South by a landslide.
Not a bad call for sure. I mean, that is most certainly possible. 4th round for Jacob Eason. But I mean, we're talking about a guy that was potentially going in 2nd round. I mean, quarterbacks, that happens for us. Nobody takes them. I mean, it's just, who's kind of planning on maybe taking a quarterback. But to have him grow behind a guy like Phillip Rivers, I think that's a great opportunity for him. And then we have 2 more teams that we are going to classify as winners. I'll let you do this next one since you've been really big on them and you were big on their pick.
Yeah.
I'll do the other one because I was
Panthers, man. And they had, that Derek Brown pick was great.
Filled out that offense or defensive line, didn't they?
Yeah.
Old Gross Matos as well as Derek Brown. Man, I'm not.
Yeah, taking that Derek Brown was, I think, the second, like I said in our live stream, the second best pick in the draft. He is a monster. I think he was the best defensive tackle on the board. He'll be a force for a long time in this league.
I watched him about 10 to 12 games this year, and so it was an absolute pleasure watching him play football. It is amazing to me that man is a defensive tackle and not a defensive end with the way he moves, and he is just able to.
He is going to run laps around guards this year, man.
I agree with that. I'm nervous if I'm Drew Brees and Tom Brady at this point in time. Even with getting a new, because Gross Matos is no slouch either. He was, probably a couple picks from being, a higher round draft pick, the first, But a team that I like, even though they only had 6 picks, the Cardinals. I kind of talked about it in the live stream because I love Isaiah Simmons and I love what he does there, especially for. And I know I mentioned it on the live stream, but for those of the folks that haven't watched, Arizona was horrendous against tight ends last year. Horrendous. Like you could, especially fantasy football, you could play any tight end that you wanted against them. I mean, the first week they made TJ Hawkinson look like he was going to be the superstar that I think he still potentially can be, And so they needed something to be able to curb off that. And I know you think that he's undersized, and I agree that he is. But I mean, you don't necessarily need to be the biggest guy out there.
Well, it's not just about his size; it's about his physicality. I watched some of his tape, and I don't think he's physical. I mean,
sure,
as a safety, if they move him to safety, maybe to corner. Which a lot of times happens when these guys go pro. They realize you're not built for this. This is a different game than college.
Yeah, but this is a different game. But exactly, because there's 10 other guys that make it a different game. Sometimes all you need is that middle linebacker that's smart to be able to recognize where something's happening. And if I can get a grab on this guy, and my big defensive linemen or cornerbacks can close in. Sometimes that's all you need. And nobody's going to just stop George Kittle. I'm not saying that they will. But lack of physicality is not going to be the reason that he can't stop George Kittle. He's going to he may not be able to tackle him after he catches it, but if you're able to provide some decent coverage against him, then he may not have an opportunity to catch that ball.
Yeah.
So,
and listen, he might just end up picking off all the tight ends and not even having to tackle them.
Absolutely.
And if it comes down to that, great. And if he's then, like I said, if he's got the speed of a safety, he can take that thing back. Then he's not having to worry about beating the receivers. He's got to beat the linemen.
I see where your reservations can be. But I feel like it's such a position that you only get 1 or 2 of these each year in the draft that are viable middle inside linebackers, depending on what style of defense you run. But also, I definitely wanted to bring up the fact, and we're going to talk about him a little bit more in the draft steal section, but getting Josh Jones in the 3rd, that's a great get because, we thought that they were going to take a tackle early instead of Isaiah Simmons, and then they took Simmons, and they didn't have a 2nd-round pick, and we're still able to get one of the top tackles in the draft to be able to bring in and hopefully be able to protect Kyler Murray. Obviously, like I said, they only had 6 picks, 2 of them offense, 4 of them defense, but their big get was obviously DeAndre Hopkins. They have shored up that offense, whether they drafted CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy or whoever. I feel like DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk with Larry Fitzgerald in the slot. That's a dangerous core that it would have almost been overkill to bring CeeDee Lamb in with when they have a couple of guys that, I mean, Andy Isabella was an early round draft pick last year. But they have some opportunities. And Kenyon Drake back there. So I personally think that they had a really good draft and they've had a really good offseason. So I'll be interested to see what they will be able to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about some losers now. Yeah. And, this is not first up, but for me, probably one of the worst drafts in total in the history of the NFL, and that's the Packers.
Yeah.
The Packers, you heard me say after the first round, they had a horrible first round.
Yeah.
It only got worse, people.
Yeah, it really did.
They needed one thing more than anything this draft, and that is a weapon for Aaron Rodgers. They needed a receiver. And listen, I talked about how much I hated the Jordan Love pick, and
I talked about it not being a great pick.
And here's the thing, though,
being the worst.
I would have understood if you want to get Jordan Love and stash him, but also give Aaron Rodgers some receivers, some weapons for now. Fine, but they didn't do that.
You're right. They really, I obviously I didn't agree with the pick, and we discussed that on the live stream, and I came at you and said, hey, I hear what you're saying, but what if it is the guy? And, and then they really, really, really screwed me on that second round pick. A.J. Dillon could be, look, the point is, it doesn't matter if he could be a great running back. You have a decent running back in Jamal Williams, and you have a great running back in Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
What you only have is one great weapon for your quarterback that's getting older and is a more safe style of playing, plays football safer. So I think that pick followed up in the second round. A.J. Dillon made their first pick way worse than it was. I mean, I can understand going up to get your guy for quarterback, but then you got to address some need. Yeah.
Honestly,
A.J. Dillon is.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm walking in the next day. I'm like, fine. You don't want to give me any weapons, and you want to go ahead and draft my replacement. Trade me. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm demanding a trade tomorrow.
Well, obviously, we know where this road leads. He will be going to play quarterback for the Vikings, and then he will be going to play quarterback for the Jets. And obviously, Jordan Love is going to be dominant.
Yeah, and listen, if that's the case, so be it.
But I mean, well, we talked about why I think Jordan Love has a good opportunity, but only if he gets to sit a couple years. I don't think Jordan Love is a come in and play quarterback in the NFL now type of guy, and especially not a come in and play quarterback now type of guy at Green Bay.
Yeah, imagine what it would do if Aaron Rodgers decided to leave that organization. It would decimate them for years.
Yeah, agreed. Saints, poor draft, only 4 picks. Yeah. I mean, they got a good deal on Zach Braun, the linebacker, in the third round, but 3 offense, 1 defense. I feel like that was a team that had a lot more than 4 holes that they needed plugged. Obviously, things are masked a whole lot when you got Michael Thomas and Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. And so maybe I'm being nitpicky, but I mean, you only have 4 picks to make the right decisions, and I just feel like they didn't really come through with what they needed, in my personal opinion, man. Yeah. So the Saints were losers for me. The Raiders were also losers for me. For a team with 7 picks and some first-round capital, we just talked about it, but I feel like they reached on Ruggs, man. I feel like you could have traded down and got Ruggs. I mean, Jerry Jeudy was the guy you needed on your team. I mean, the Raiders needed a big-bodied, physical, go up and get the football kind of guy. I don't feel like they needed a burner because they have a possession style receiver with Hunter Renfrow and a great tight end in Darren Waller. I feel like Henry Ruggs just didn't fit for what I thought that they should be going for. Now, I've won exactly 0 Super Bowls, and John Gruden has won a Super Bowl and has a 10-year contract. So I'm not saying I'm completely right. I just felt like it was a reach, but I definitely feel like Damon Arnett, with another first-round pick way early, picked him at 19. I feel like there were still better cornerbacks on the board. Like I feel like I like Christian Fulton better than Damon Arnett, and he didn't go until the late second round of the Titans. 4 offense, 3 defense. We'll see what old Chucky can put in play. But I think we got one more loser that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, the Bears. 7 picks. They took a tight end in the second, which
was their first pick.
Baffles me, man. Unless you think this guy is going to be the next Gronk, which even then, I mean,
there was so many more needs than a tight end. I didn't agree with it either. I thought it was a bad pick.
Is this still Trubisky starting there?
Trubisky, but remember they just got Nick Foles. They want Trubisky to be the starter, but Nick Foles has a good opportunity.
They're both backup worthy.
Like I told you, Nick Foles, I feel like can run the game management style of offense that you can win football games with. But you gotta get some playmakers around there. Anthony Miller has a chance to be a superstar. Allen Robinson is a great football player. David Montgomery didn't really show us what we wanted to see last year, but he was a rookie. Still opportunity, a lot of opportunity there. So just to fill that in with, you don't have any offensive line needs. You don't got any cornerback needs. You don't got anything. Look, tight end is when you got a great tight end, you got a great option. But there's plenty of teams that are successful without
it shouldn't be a necessity. That should be more of like an accessory.
Yeah, you should be going for. Look, T.J. Hawkinson, a number 8 pick. Tight ends are slow to move in the league. He could be a superstar, which is why you risk a number 8 pick on him. But if your first pick is coming in and you're taking a tight end in the second round, that means nobody else. Almost twice, nobody else saw this guy as a superstar or have that superstar potential. So unless I just don't know a lot about this specific tight end, and he is Cole Kmet, right? And he's a big blocker, or he's a good pass catcher, or he runs a similar system that they've run. I just didn't understand it either, buddy.
Yeah. So now let's move into some of our of the biggest steals in the draft.
Grant Delpit, the safety from I think LSU. Grant Delpit, second round, 44 overall. He had a really early grade on him, and cannot believe he fell so far. But Xavier McKinney, who we talked about in the live stream, fell pretty far. Well, he didn't fall pretty far, but he was early in the second. So Grant Delpit for the Browns, that is going to be a great pick. And obviously the next person that we're going to talk about, Christian Fulton for the Titans, the cornerback from LSU as well. 61st overall, second round for what could be a potentially great cornerback in this league. He's seen Alabama, he's seen Georgia, he's seen tons of great talent, and offenses is probably going to translate well into the NFL. So Christian Fulton for the Titans, second round, 61st overall. So
yeah, and then we got Denzel Mims from Baylor. Went to the Jets, I believe.
That's correct.
Yes, in second round, 59th overall. He'll be a starter soon coming in. I think first or second year he'll be a starter there in New York.
Robbie Anderson's out. He's down there in Carolina. So
yeah, he's not the biggest receiver. 6'3", 207.
Big body. That's a big body. For
he's 40, not great. A 4.3 40, not great for a receiver.
He's a big possession style receiver. He's going to fit with, as our friends over at the Fantasy Footballers call him, Mr. Butthole or Mr. Beehole. I'm so sorry, Adam Gase, for not wanting to advance the ball or do a lot of plays or score a lot of points. He's going to be perfect in Adam Gase's system. And Sam Darnold needed a big body possession style receiver like that. So very good pick. Obviously, we talked about him earlier with the Cards, but 72nd overall in the third round, Josh Jones from Houston. Obviously not the biggest school on the block, especially not even the biggest school in his state, but Houston showed a whole lot this past season. Big body, you get a good coach, a guy that has good fundamentals. I think he can protect Kyler Murray's blind side. So, I know that Kingsbury's hoping that he can. Yeah. That was a draft steal to me.
Bradley Anae?
Bradley.
Oh, Bradley Anae.
Yeah.
I just took maybe I should put my glasses back on.
Yeah, no, he was the Cowboys' 5th round pick.
Yeah, so he went 179 overall. I don't have his stats up on the screen right now.
He had like a 3rd round grade though, man. He was up there. So,
was he?
So whether he pans out or not, a 5th round pick for a potential defensive end that you need. But they also, the Cowboys were able to add Trayvon Diggs.
So this next one, who I actually think this is probably in my opinion, the biggest steal. This guy is going to be, mark my words, one of the best fantasy players in the next several years, and he'll probably be a 103 in a couple of years. DeAndre Swift. Great stats for a running back. He's great for fantasy. I think he's going to be a red zone back. He's going to salvage some touchdowns from people.
I think he's going to be more of the workhorse, and Kerryon is going to get a lot of those goal line, third down. I think that's his problem. Kerryon Johnson came into the league indicating he didn't want to be a workhorse running back. He wanted to be a part of a RBBC.
I think during his rookie year, that'll play a part. But I think once he gets a foothold in, he'll be the go-to back and the premier back for that team.
I think it depends on how it works. You can go into 2 running back sets. Yes, he has the skill set to be a dominant running back in this league. But most teams don't want to go that direction. If you get a guy that's dominant, what's going to happen is if you allow him to dominate, he's going to command, and rightfully so, a big contract. So if you're able to have 2 great running backs that you can interchange, it's really hard for someone to argue with you when they had 750 rushing yards and 45 catches for 600 yards. It's hard for them to argue that they are worth $12 million, even if they may be on the open market. So I'd be interested to see how they use them. But, it's one of those things that a dominant running back is invaluable. You can always, if you're a smart football coach, you can always find a use for them and get them implemented. So obviously following that same note, Jonathan Taylor, number 41 overall for the Colts. We were thinking about that as a potential Titans pick. I'm nervous about having to see Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor.
That's what I'm saying. I think the Colts became a dangerous offense.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because, my understanding is Jonathan Taylor's not a big receiving back, but neither is Marlon Mack. They still have Nyheim Hines. Is Nyheim Hines going to get a lot of that third down work? It seems like a wasted pick if that's the case. I'm nervous about it, man. The Colts are, like you said, it may not be this year, but they're in the realm of possibility. I guess we didn't buy, but the Titans bought themselves a few years when they convinced Andrew Luck to retire. Because they were on pace to be a perennial AFC South winner. Like Peyton was. And it was a long 18 years of Peyton Manning playing football against us, man. When you get excited on a season that you're doing nothing and you're not going to go anywhere, and you're excited by beating the Colts by 3 points in a regular season game because you haven't done it in 12 years. It was one of those things that we'd give them a good game. Fourth quarter would roll around. They'd score 3 touchdowns, and we'd look like freaking idiots. So it could be that again soon, man. Jacob Eason could come into his own.
But all right, so let's move on to outside the NHL. And it's time for joke of the week.
You keep bringing stupid products into the realm. So I decided I'm going to bring a stupid product into the realm. It is called Twinkle Tush. Okay, and so what it is, Bobby, is it is a stylish butthole medallion for your cat. Basically, it has a little string. You put it over their tail, and it's like a little jewel. Basically like when you are a little kid and you get 50 cents and you put your money in the machine and twist it, and you get like a stupid looking fake blue ring. It looks exactly like that, but it's in a circle over your cat's butthole. And so the best part about it is, Bobby, for only $5.99, you can constantly have to explain to your friends and family members that no, your cat is not wearing a butt plug. It's just a stylish butthole medallion, Mom. Don't be so worried. I'm not a freak enough to put a butt plug in my cat. As if the stylish butthole medallion in itself is not something to discuss. So I think you watched the little video here.
Yeah,
man.
And I don't know. I think for copyright we can't play it on air, but we might do a reaction video on YouTube. But yeah, it is.
It's bad, man.
It's bad.
It's real bad. Like, is it a huge enough problem that if looking at your cat's butthole is a huge problem that you're having in life? I just feel like there's other ways.
Yeah, maybe a cat's not for you.
Right. I mean, because that cat's going to show you its butthole, dude.
Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to be rude or vulgar, but cats put their tail in the air, and under their tail is a butthole. So what a joke. Like, the pure fact, like, they got a full website. I mean, have you ever thrown a respectable cocktail party at your home only to have your feline family member come out and proudly display their uncovered rear? While Kitty might enjoy showing off their brown eye, we're sure your guests don't like to see that one-eyed monster while munching their caviar. Give your cat some class, hang Twinkle Tush from their tail, and cover that butt in bling. So there's been a lot of assumptions made through this process. We're assuming that this person has no doors in their house to where they can close their cat up somewhere. And we're also assuming that this specific person that's going to pay $5.99 for a butthole medallion is serving caviar to their guests. Something tells me that the guy or girl that buys the Twinkle Tush probably not serving caviar at their house. Oh, that's actually on their website, dude. There's more. I'm not even gonna read it all, but go look it up, everybody. TwinkleTush.com. Not a sponsor. Hopefully one day, dude. You have anything to say about this, man?
It is
a joke.
I watched the video, and multiple times I was like, this can't get any worse. Oh, it got worse. And at first, my initial thought was just what you said, was what they were saying. I was like, why do they put a butt plug in their cat? I was like, oh. But honestly, I get why that's a selling point, because I was like, oh, well, at least it's not a butt plug. And it somehow made it better. It made the product better.
I'm so sorry. I do need to disclose for you, in case you didn't realize it already, Twinkle Tush is a gag gift. I guess you got to put it in your mouth before you slide it on their tail or something. Oh, yeah. I mean, good. I'm glad it's a gag gift, but like, unfortunately, there's probably people that have bought it ungaggly. And so like, the creator, the guy that's making money off this is not the joke here. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, if you can make money off a cat butthole medallion, make your money, bro. The joke is the people that actually buy it and utilize the cat hole butthole medallion. Butthole medallion.
He had to add that in case you didn't realize it already. Tinkle Tush is a gag gift well after people were putting it on their cats and complaining.
Well, no. I would imagine it was well after they're putting it on, or they're trying to put it on their cats, and their cats tried to kill them. Because, I mean, it's a cat, and you're trying to put something over my tail on my butthole, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look, that's obviously, so I would imagine there's been lots of scratches in the attempt. So good for you, bro. Get your cheddar, but what a joke that you're able. You're unless you're losing massive money, this is a joke that you're able to fund this.
Yeah. But all right, so let's move on. In the coming weeks, we will be doing a X-Men series, much like we did with Marvel. So be on the lookout for that. We're trying to figure out the best way to watch X-Men. Not as easily accessible. So I think we're just going to pull the trigger and probably I'm just going to buy the movies on Amazon. I mean, they're not expensive anymore.
Yeah.
I might rent the most recent one, Dark Phoenix.
Well, because there's 12 in total, because it includes both Deadpools in the X-Men world.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
but when you look at the timeline of so with this one, you just want to watch it in release order, and then at Deadpool at the end.
I'm a all or nothing kind of guy, and you know that about me, Bobby. I'm still upset that I haven't seen either Spider-Man or Homecoming or Far From Home.
I haven't seen. I need to see Far From Home. I might do that here soon. I might do that tonight or something.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. So maybe not next week, but maybe in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think next week I think what we'll do is we'll sit down, watch them all, then talk about them for 2 episodes. So also, we might need some time to watch them.
Also, obviously, this is sports related and not outside in the pop culture realm, but we are gonna be watching The Last Dance. Yes, yeah. I've seen episode 1. I know that we wanted to save and talk about 4 episodes at a time.
Yeah, I haven't even seen episode 1 yet. I'm going to.
Oh gosh, I mean, dude, like, I watched it real early in the morning before Stephanie got up, and dude, obviously the Bulls intro music always gets you, but like, dude, like, I mean, it just, you just feel it. You just feel it watching it. So, yeah. As a guy that grew up not able to be necessarily old enough to appreciate it as much as I'd like Michael Jordan, but a guy that appreciates sports and history, and remembering being there and hearing about him and watching him beat the Jazz and Karl Malone, the mailman, and John Stockton, and just, I mean, just so crazy. It was so funny that, Hakeem Olajuwon went first in that draft, and like obviously that's the obvious choice at that time, and then he goes as a kid and just dominates the Olympics, and like the Bulls were like, we were pretty lucky, because if we would actually, they were like, if we would have had pick 1, we would have taken Olajuwon too, as everybody would have. It wasn't a question. So interesting to at least very, very much watch the first episode. So I'm excited to talk about that too.
So let's move into questions from the internet. We've got 2 more for you today. The first one is, what's worse, people who run marathons or polar plunge people?
Marathons for sure, because there's like a lot more opportunities to run a marathon.
Yeah.
Polar plunge is very specified into a specific time. And like, it's also pretty impressive because you could literally die from hypothermia.
Yeah. With marathons, it's like, cool, you just ran.
It's like,
bunch.
look, I also could spend 6 hours of my life running this pace, running this. Well, I mean, it's a lot more than 6 hours, because to be able to train for the marathon, it's like a whole lot of your life. Like, and so, I mean, it would just be like, and people that run marathon, my favorite is the 26.2s that people put on the back of their car. Like, that's super dope, man. Like, but I just don't get that. Like, if you want to put like the specific marathon you run, like Boston Marathon or, Nashville, Music City Marathon, that's cool to me. But just throwing it up there, 26.2, bro. I always loved the 0.0s. That was my favorite. Anytime anybody asks me, they're like, hey, you want to do this 5K? I'm like, how about this? You do the 5K, I'll wait at the end, and I'll have already had like 3 beers by the time you're done. How about that?
Yeah, I think we're in agreement with that one.
Yeah, polar plunge people are much more acceptable to me.
Yeah, and they're not even bad. Like, I'm cool with polar plunge people.
Yeah, I mean, impressive.
Here's the next one.
Wait, hold on. There was a percentage of what people chose.
From readers and people on the internet, 68% chose marathoners.
That were more annoying.
Yes.
Okay. We are with the people.
Yeah. So here's the next one. Would you rather A, watch your dad fuck a 100-year-old man, or B, watch your mother kill someone? To me, this is an easy one.
Yeah, I'd definitely rather watch my mom kill someone.
Yeah.
Not a question, dude. Mom, if you're listening, holla. Call me on a burner, though. And let me get a burner too.
Like, here's the thing, that works for a lot of things, not just something as crazy as watching my dad fucking a 100-year-old man. Would I rather watch my mom kill someone than sit in traffic for 20 minutes? Yeah, I'd rather watch my mom kill someone than sit in traffic for 20 minutes.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, it's my mom. Like,
I'm not ratting her out.
Well, first of all, I'm not ratting her out, but like, if she's decided, maybe not, maybe sometime. It depends on. It depends. It depends on the situation. I mean, obviously, the answer is always watch my mom kill someone. Because like you said,
85% of people agreed with us.
Mom, I got your back, but make sure you call me from a burner. Don't take your cell phone out of the house with you. Leave it at the house, okay? That's the big rule of murder.
Don't Facebook it either. Don't check in.
Please don't check in. Yeah. Dump site it, selfie with the... Mom, you're really going to screw us, because I've basically admitted that I would most certainly be an accessory to your crimes at this point. So, pretty easy. All right, so let's roll into this or that. Okay, so all traffic lights you approach be green, or never have to stand in line again.
That is a easy one.
Easy one for me too.
Never stand in line again.
Never stand in line. I stand in lots of lines.
I hate lines.
Being a sports fan, you just naturally have to stand in line.
But being a podcast fan, red lights are fine.
Red lights are fine.
Yeah.
I will, that's when I do most of my podcasting is between red lights.
Imagine going to that Winter Classic but never having to stand in a line, man. Yeah. How great that would have been.
Yeah, and I mean, like, situationally, like, it's much more valuable.
Like, you don't have to leave a minute before a hockey period ends to go to the bathroom. You can just get up and go.
You just like Moses part people, dude, and you're just like out. Yeah, I mean, that's a super, like, I can see where, like, if you spend a majority of your life driving, like, if I was a freaking truck driver or delivery driver and like that was like my mainstay of income, I would be very tempted by the green light.
And here's the thing, though. I usually don't get caught up at traffic lights. I usually get caught up at crash sites. And guess what? Those are lines.
Yeah.
So that's not. So you're getting through that because you're not waiting in that line.
Technically, it's a line of cars, though, so I don't know how it would.
But there's no traffic light.
That's true. And see, well, most of my travel is on the interstate where there is no traffic light. So having the automatic green is not helping me. So as usual, we decide what will help us specifically the most, and it's got to be never stand in line, dude.
We're here in Nashville, and I live in Shelbyville. I have 2 lights. 2 lights I have between my house and there because I get off on 65 to 24, and then I go through Murfreesboro real quick, and I get 1 light and then 1 light before I hit my house. So I have 2 lights.
Yeah, so I mean that's a super easy decision. Now I'm really wondering about like the physics of it though. Do people just move for you, or like when you're going somewhere, people move out of the line? Which would be super dope if like you're just like in line to get a beer and everybody's like, "Hey, we're out of line now," and then you move up to the front and then they all shift back into line. I'm just really interested of the.
I think you just get like a card and everyone understands that card. And you're like, "Hey, right here."
Oh, that's the no line guy. That's what people will say about us.
That's the one guy.
Okay. So perpetual water balloon fight in your city or a perpetual food fight? I really think that your answer is going to be based off your position in life.
Yeah. I mean,
like if you're homeless, like a food fight all the time is like a dope thing, dude.
Yeah. I'm going to say water balloon fight mainly because it's going to start stanking after a bit, man.
Yeah, I would imagine there's some sort of semi-cleanup type of deal. But like, but even so, like it's not only like a lot of cleanup or stink, but like it's just like so much to deal with. Like getting hit in the shirt with the water balloon is like a lot different than getting hit in the shirt with the pie.
Or getting smacked in the face with a salmon. Like that would just suck.
Yeah, it was just like all that. Like again, like it really is going to be dependent on your feeling of where you are in life. Like if you have plenty of food and and a place to go home to, no problem, bro. I'm just gonna buy myself a waterproof backpack and put a bunch of clothes in there, and these are my water fighting clothes, dude. And like besides the fact that you're having a bad day, dude, I'm just gonna go and throw a bunch of water balloons at people all day, and like it would just immediately make your... Now, it could also go the opposite. You're having a bad day and you walk outside, get smacked in the face, dude. Like,
or if you don't know what to eat that night, go outside with a net with the food fight and start catching things, man.
Yeah. I mean,
see what you got.
I guess I don't know if it's just like perpetually like people are like hanging outside their house though to ready to food fight. Like I just feel like it's more when you're in public. Like if I'm going to check the mail, like my neighbor runs out and like hits me with. Like,
I think it's whenever you see another person, they are.
You gotta fight. Like it's like an on-site type of deal.
I think it's I think it's like a Call of Duty Warzone kind of thing where it's like last minute
battle royale.
Yeah,
like, you see somebody with clean clothes, you're messing them up. Now I'm guessing we're limiting this to outside.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we got to.
You can't have people breaking in to start throwing food at you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be dope, obviously. But
does it reset every day? So every day, are you waking up and you got to wake up before Stephanie to nail her with a water balloon?
Well, I feel like we're a team, right? Like your household is your specific war team.
Until it's just the two of you, and then it's every man for himself.
Well, I don't think it's not dodgeball, Bobby. You're not out after you get hit by a water balloon or food fight. I think it's just a constant fight. Like a water balloon fight means we're just fighting with water balloons constantly. Now, if you were trying to like step it up, like we did water wars in high school, and like in that instance, you got hit with the water balloon, you had to go to jail or something. So, but this just makes it seem like it's just a large scale fight. Like you can just hit anybody with it.
Yeah. So I'm water
balloon fight, no question. I would hate to have, how I hate being like sticky.
Yeah.
And so like I would be constantly sticky, and I'd have to constantly like wipe myself, and I would just get nothing done. So. Water balloon fight all the way. I guess I didn't know it was going to be so easy for both of us.
But all right, so time to move into what are you binging? So why don't you start us off?
Letting me and Stephanie, I've watched it a bunch of times, but Entourage.
Entourage.
Michael Scott. Let's hug it out, bitch. And because Stephanie's, that was the only reference she'd ever heard of it. She thought Entourage was like a super serious show, and I was like, it is not at all. So Entourage, man. What about you, show wise? What are you getting?
Modern Family, man. I've been catching up. You know,
Heard it's great.
It's a great. I've seen up to like season 8, and so, but the season 11 just ended. It was the final season, the series finale, and I stopped watching because I got busy.
Yeah.
So I got on Amazon. I binged season 8. I'm on season 9 now.
Awesome.
So I got 2 more seasons to go.
I've heard it's really good. I've seen some of it. And
Very
what
funny.
Is it Sofia Vergara?
Sofia Vergara and
she's so hot, dude.
yeah.
So,
And the guy who played Ed Bundy.
Yeah, but there was lots of great actors. Like from what I've seen clips, bits and parts of it here. Like I get the essence of the show.
Yeah.
You know, super funny. Seems like I just never. You know, I'm such a TV show watcher that I've got in my mind. Like usually I'm one of those guys that like, bro, you gotta watch this. Like I'm like, yeah, for sure. And then like in my head, I'm like, I'm never gonna watch that because I don't care. Like, but Modern Family is definitely on that list of things that I'm actually gonna watch at some point.
And so I've been drinking some of that mead. Not the stuff that I made. That stuff was garbage. I had to throw that out a while ago.
That was trash, Bobby. I mean,
it was
I had it. Well, but I had it after like 4 beers and like a couple shots, so it's fine. I mean, for the time, but it was not great.
Yeah, but it got you drunk though. That shit was strong.
Yeah, Bobby. But like I just said, I was at 4 beers and like 2 shots.
But yeah, so I mean, I still had some in my fridge and some stuff that I bought from the store, and so it's been in there for a while. So I just started drinking it.
I'll tell you what the mead that was great, dude, was from the Maryland Renaissance Festival.
Yeah, that shit was dope.
So good, dude. That was like heaven in my mouth.
It's so refreshing because it was so hot.
My binging, we've been talking a lot of Screwball, the peanut butter whiskey, and I did it with some coffee. Like it was early in the morning. I did it with some coffee, bro. I probably poured way too much in there, but it wasn't great for an 8:30 cup of coffee that got me ready to go. So the coffee and Screwball was dope. So
yeah. So
that'll move us into what snaps your stick. Obviously, I've stolen a little bit of your snaps your stick.
So that was my sports one was the draft coverage showing all the tragic events in players' lives.
Well, it wasn't just like general tragic events though.
Very
it was
specific.
like it was like regular stuff. Like
we don't want to see that their mother died or that their brother had an addiction or that they got an education from the University of Alabama. We get it. There are horrible things happen in their life.
God, that was so good. I know that's what you were trying to set up this whole time, bro. That was so perfect. No, but absolutely. It's not that we don't care about that stuff or we don't understand that that's a defining part.
But that's not
of
the
their
time
people.
for it.
But they have worked for, especially the ones that have had home life problems and issues in their home life. They've worked so hard.
They've worked probably
almost
close to 2 decades.
And so they have to do this at their home or on their own or wherever, depending on how their situation is set up. And they don't get to walk across that stage, and they don't get to actually do all the real things at that draft. And so, like, to take that and just to make it the time to let somebody know that draft pick A, his mom was addicted to crack, and he never slept on a mattress. Like, if you want to tell that story in a Blindside style movie where money comes into it, or what is it? The Outside the Lines report. Like, if you want to go through some,
or talk about it the next day when they're just doing the coverage. Because here's the thing: those guys are probably going to record that. A lot of these, think about it. How often do they show pictures of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers crossing the stage, shaking the hands of Roger Goodell, and holding up the jersey? Yeah. Those guys are not going to have that picture. They're going to have the clip that ESPN showed.
Yeah, and and I even the Titans pick Christian Fulton. I watched the interview with him. And his grandfather died pretty recently, and they talked to him about it and asked him about it, and they probably went a little too far into it. But I feel like if you want to talk to the person about specific struggles or issues, that's one thing.
But like what they did to T. Higgins was not okay.
But I didn't even see what they did. But what did they?
Pretty much,
same thing.
Same
like
thing. His mom was addicted, had a drug addiction, and and it was big here because he's a Tennessee boy from Oak Ridge.
It's quite frankly. Very classless, and not that we've ever assumed that ESPN has had a bunch of class that they're trying to put forth, but it was just such. I mean, there were so many long awkward pauses because, like, what do you say about that? And I'm not saying that there's not a time to talk about that stuff and that it's not important and that it doesn't define who they are. You know, I mean, that's a hurdle to overcome. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about people's struggles or struggles they had. But I am saying what you're saying. It's absolutely not the time to let's celebrate this kid. They did something that maybe 0.003% of people that have ever played their sport and had this dream. Look, man. Yeah, so I mean, there's a time and place to talk about this stuff, and ESPN absolutely dropped the ball and used this as an opportunity to put out information that maybe these guys, and maybe they don't care, but maybe they care about this information being out there, especially on the day that it's supposed to be a celebration of them being drafted into the league where, again, not a big percentage of people that have ever played this sport or get to go and do this. So 100% on point. Great snaps your stick, man.
So why don't you tell us your sports one?
Yeah, I mean, just the weird nature of pro sports leagues and not like allowing like multiple jerseys, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I just wish, like, dude, like I wouldn't care. Like, I don't want it to be like Oregon where they're switching complete jerseys and styles and new helmets and
yeah.
But like, I mean, if you have 5 or 6 jerseys that you want to wear separately, I want to wear this old school jersey. I want to wear that. I just think it's dumb that most leagues don't allow it. Like, oh, one alternate, like you can only use this. Or look, man, if it's been, I think my rule of thumb should be if it's ever been a jersey of yours or an alternate of yours, you can wear it anytime you want.
Yeah.
You know, why not? Why not? I get not having like maybe like 11 new jerseys every year because you don't want fans to have to purchase and buy those. But like, if you change jerseys into a new jersey, one of your biggest fans that doesn't have a lot of money bought this old jersey. Now this jersey is out of date. They're never going to wear that jersey again for this guy. Like, why can't they? Why can't they? People have bought that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
no, I agree with you, man.
Stick,
I love
dude.
having jersey options. Speaking of, dude, San Diego's jerseys are
dope.
solid. I mean, I've always loved that powder
All the
blue in
options.
sports.
Well, I like the Charger logo, like the lightning bolt that has the blue in it.
Yeah.
I thought it was the dark blue. I
Yeah.
thought it was so cool.
You know whose new uniforms are absolute trash? Atlanta's.
I haven't seen that.
Oh,
Let me
it's
look 'em up
bad,
real quick.
dude. It's just they try to go for that like simplistic look, but it just looks stupid.
And you know how I'm a big fan of simplistic, so I'm gonna go in and be the judge of if I hate or love, dude.
I don't like the ATL
I like
on the chest.
I don't hate that. I like the all black ones. I feel like
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can never go wrong with all black, but I mean the red on top and the black.
they do look like they're just Georgia uniforms.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. They're just
I feel like in NFL you got a lot more room to play with than I say that colleges do. I feel like colleges are built on tradition and stuff and should be a little more simplistic. But the NFL, like, they're literally your team is literally worth $1 billion, dude. Don't make a logo or a jersey that I could make on a creative.
Yeah,
team.
no, it definitely looks like they made that in like Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, right. Or the 2002 Madden with Dante Culpepper on the front. You know, like. Okay, so my non-sports is a little more. I want to go out front, head off anybody that would be upset about this. Text talk in professional emails. Okay, I understand that not everybody is going to be perfect at emailing and contacting people, and I understand that there are a lot of people that a lot more than is known of people with problems with dyslexia or comprehension or learning disabilities. Okay, so I want to go ahead and throw that out there. I'm talking about the person that can't spell out a complete word. You're typing it, okay? You're typing. You're not even texting it. And even nowadays, I disagree. Look, I don't really like I have lots of, not lots, but I have a few friends that'll shorten things on text.
I do that a lot.
It's acceptable because it's a text message. You're texting me. I'm not immune to shortening things. But when I can't read your sentences because I have to decipher so much stuff, that's just too much,
Yeah.
I mean, shortening a few words here and there is one thing. But doing every single word that you write has to be shortened. It's longer. That's got to take you longer.
I find there were like, for me, and I actually caught myself doing this on my work email the other day. I had to be like, I always do it in the same word, tomorrow. I always do TMR. Because in texting, I do
Yeah.
TMR, and I feel like most people get TMR means tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was writing something, and I said TMR. I'm like, I can't do that. This is a work email.
Well, you know me. I'm I'm going to type it all out. I'm going to try to put punctuation. I'm not a grammar Nazi. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'm going to usually try to type it out. And whether or not I've got the right punctuation and grammar, I've at least attempted it.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't feel like it takes me that much longer to do it. Some words, absolutely. For tomorrow, I'll usually put Tom. If I'm talking to you or something, let's do it Tom or whatever. So I'm not saying don't use this stuff. And I'm not even saying if it's an informal, it's not even an informal email to your coworker. You just need to.
I agree with you in a professional setting, though, yeah.
I'm talking about when you're reaching out to, let's say, for example, Sling. Like I had Sling TV and I had to reach out to them and talk to them about something. Like I would never type that email that I want them to respond with professionally and courteously with a bunch of riddled with spelling errors and say, help me. And not explain, it just wears me out that there's just a lack of awareness that when you send that message in, that's the only information that person is going to get.
Yeah.
so explain yourself, and explain yourself fully, and don't make it. Everybody will use different slang words and terms and terminology. So don't make it up for interpretation of what this means to me. Yeah. Make it as clear and concise as possible because we're naturally nonverbal communicators anyway. So you're already adding so much layer of a problem to an email that you normally wouldn't have. And so to make it interpretable is so frustrating, man.
Yeah. So my non-sports one is people who ask for verbal directions and who have the ability to use GPS but don't use it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many times like, oh, what's the address? Or they'll be like, how do I get there? I'm like, well, here's the address. Like, no, just tell me how to get there. I'm like, you have a smartphone. Let me give you the address.
When people require me to do that, I've done this to multiple people. They say, how do you get here? I'll look at them and I'll real slow and I'll say, all right, here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to pull your cell phone out of your pocket, pull up whatever you use for GPS, and you're going to type this that I say into it. And then it's going to take you there. I agree, man. Like, first of all, like, dude, should I know how to tell you how to get there? Maybe.
No.
Maybe.
Why?
But maybe. But because I've been there. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the capabilities of what I withhold, should I probably be able to tell you how to get there? Yes. Have I used GPS to get there hundreds of times? Also, yes. I don't know how to tell you to get there. I do my best, but I have generally a bad sense of direction. I just can't help it, man.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
I'll walk half a mile in the other direction before I realize I try my best, dude. I try not to be like that, but I just cannot help it. I just have a generally bad sense of direction.
I lived in Murfreesboro for years, and every time we go to my wife and I go to Murfreesboro, I always have to be like, she's like, oh, let's go to this place. I'm like, how do I get there? She's like, you lived here. How do you not know? We were at Outback. We were at the Outback Steakhouse. We're not there, but we were driving by, and she was like, we need to go to Walmart. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, how do I get there? She's like, you mean
you should turn right? Yeah,
look to your right.
That one's kind of on you because you literally could see it. It wasn't an
It was
instant.
the kind of thing where I'm like, how do I get there? Oh, yeah, that's how. Because I'm like,
I'm with you. So yes, I'm not gonna be able to do that for you, big dog. Like, I'm so sorry. I wish that I could because inevitably, what will happen is I've definitely given people directions before, and then like realize 15 minutes later, like that was not right.
Yeah. Or the worst is I've had people be like, so what you're gonna want to do is, I'm like, can you just tell me that? It's like, no. What you're going to want to do is go like 6 miles up. And by the time they got to the third direction, I'm like, okay, so I forgot the first one.
Yeah, no,
and they refuse to just tell me. I'm like, dude, I've got my Google. Just tell me the name of the place I'm going. I can figure it out from there. But all right, it's about time to wrap up, man. What'd you learn?
Man, I learned that we had similar feelings on most everything today. We didn't have too many arguments, which is frustrating to me. You know how I come into this ready to battle with you. What about you, bro?
Man, I learned that even though I try to back up ESPN whenever I can, I just couldn't this time, man. That was bullshit what they did for the draft coverage.
Can I go some real quick back time? Another complaint?
Yeah.
All these sports folks wearing suits, and obviously they're at home and stuff, but wearing their friggin' tennis shoes and stuff, wearing me out, dude.
Yes,
Wearing
I
me
hate it,
out.
dude. Like what's his name? Whoever was hosting it
Trey
had on
Wingo, wasn't
had this
it?
like really nice, like overly like bold pinstripes. Dude, on tennis shoes on.
And also, that's wearing me out, dude. Like, either don't dress in a suit or wear a suit with the proper shoes. And also, can we talk about how the man Michael Irving can wear 3 different patterns on his shirt, tie, and jacket and still look like the dopest man that I've ever seen in my entire life? Like, shout out to you, Michael.
But all right, guys, it's time to get out of here. Join us next week when we have very special guest, the Ultimate Predator, joining us via phone next week. So this has been Pucks Out Podcast, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Pucks Out Podcast. To see what other ridiculousness the guys are up to, check them out on Twitter and Instagram @PucksOutPod.